People are sharing the creepiest unsolved mysteries that they can't stop thinking about. So I decided to look into the details of each one. Brandon Swanson's case always boggled my mind. The fact that he alerted his parents that he was lost and needed help. They were on the phone with him, heading toward him, only to hear his last moments. To know they were so close is so terrifying. Recently, Reddit user uRandomweeb asked the people of r/ask Reddit to share the creepiest unsolved mystery that keeps them up at night. After reading through some of these, I will definitely not be sleeping soundly for the next couple of days. Here are the most bone-chilling cases. Warning: disturbing and graphic content ahead.
Tara Calico. Young woman goes out on her typical morning bike ride and vanishes. What could be more exhilarating than pedaling your bike down a familiar route? The wind in your hair and classic rock by the band Boston blasting in your ears as you race down the highway? 19-year-old University of New Mexico sophomore Tara Lee Calico must have felt energized on her last bike ride on the morning of September 20th, 1988, the last day anyone ever saw her. This freewheeling image stands in stark contrast to the other side of Tara, the maker of daily to-do lists of everything she wanted to accomplish that day, who each morning laid out the clothes and belongings she'd need for the day and was generally organized to a fault. But Tara was both of these girls and so much more, to her mother Patty Doyle, her stepdad John Dole, her biological dad David Calico, and her siblings. Tara was a pretty, freckle-faced young woman who, even as a child, was remarkably self-sufficient. At the tender age of 6, Teeny Tara, as she was known affectionately by family, was making her own breakfast and taking care of her own needs, as well as the needs of others, without the slightest fuss. She was simply a natural leader and organizer, the type of kid who literally alphabetized the spice rack for fun. The product of a blended family, her mom and stepdad got married when Tara was 6 and had 5 children between them from previous marriages. Tara was Patty's youngest, but she made a big impact. Tara juggled work, school, art projects, exercise, sports, family, and friends with seeming ease, working off her daily checklists and cramming as much activity into her day as she was able. She was very athletic and typically rode her bike every day for exercise, frequently taking long rides with her mom. On that Tuesday morning, however, Tara set out alone at about 9:30 a.m. for her daily ride from their home on Brugg Drive in Rio Communities, a suburb of Belen, New Mexico, heading down NM Route 47. This was her standard route. She would ride 17 miles south down Route 47 to the train tracks, where she would turn around for the return trip. She had borrowed her mother's 12-speed neon pink Huffy mountain bike with yellow control cables and sidewalls because her own bicycle had a flat tire. Patty had recently stopped riding with Tara because she felt she may have been stalked by a motorist. But Tara was fearless and told her mom that if she wasn't back by noon to come get her. In addition to her regular 2-hour bike ride, Tara had plans to play tennis with her boyfriend Jack Cole at 12:30 p.m. that day, and she was due at class at 4:00 p.m. at the University of New Mexico Valencia campus in Belen. She was an excellent student who was studying to become a psychiatrist or psychologist, in addition to holding a job at a local bank. As she set off on the 34-mile ride, she took her yellow sports model Sony Walkman so she could listen to her favorite Boston tape as she rode. She was dressed in a typical casual outfit for 1988, a white t-shirt with First National Bank of Belen written on it, white shorts with green stripes, white ankle socks, and white and turquoise Avia tennis shoes. Some sources, however, indicate that Tara was reported as seen by witnesses wearing white shorts and a red top. She was also wearing a gold butterfly ring with a diamond insert, a gold amethyst ring, and small gold hoop earrings. We know little about what happened to Tara after she set off in a southward direction down NM 47 at 9:30 a.m. The next reported sighting of Tara was at 11:45 a.m. that morning, where she was spotted heading north on Highway 47 in Valencia County, apparently on her return trip, about 2 miles from her home. 7 witnesses confirmed seeing her at this time, but after that, she has never been seen again. These witnesses also reported seeing a dirty white or light primer gray, 1953, 1955, or 1956, sources vary, Ford pickup truck with a white handmade camper shell following Tara during her ride. Multiple witnesses confirmed that this vehicle was driving very slowly, about 40 feet behind Tara on her bicycle. One of the witnesses, Ishmael de la Rosa, provided an exact description of the middle-aged Caucasian man with the bright reddish-brown hair behind the wheel. He also noted a set of pressed khaki shirts hanging in the back of the truck, the type of shirt a member of law enforcement would wear. However, it cannot be confirmed whether this truck is connected to her presumed abduction or not. It was reported that she was apparently unaware of the truck's presence as she pedaled along with her headphones on, oblivious to any danger. When her daughter did not arrive home by noon as expected, Patty Dole went out to look for her at 12:05 p.m., as she had promised. Unfortunately, she found no sign of Tara. She returned home, and by now Jack, who had called the house to confirm the tennis date and learned his girlfriend had not returned, had come to help with the search and brought his friend Bernard Nixon. Tara's stepfather John Dole also joined in the efforts to retrace Tara's path that morning. Nixon set off on a bike, while Jack, John, and Patty drove the route. They spoke with 3 men repairing a fence post who recalled seeing Tara. They entered the John F. Kennedy campground about 19 miles away and saw 3 men in a dirty white or light gray truck who claimed not to have seen Tara. When Patty came home at around 3:00 p.m., she called hospitals and contacted the Valencia County Sheriff's Office. Within 8 hours, Tara's information was entered into NCIC. Law enforcement also returned to the JFK campground with Patty and noted that while the truck was still there, it had moved. Police, family, and friends continued to search until 2 a.m. To make matters worse, rain and windy weather moved in around 8:00 p.m. that evening, washing away any obvious signs, such as tire tracks, of what may have happened to her. The next day, Patty resumed her search and found a discarded Boston tape cassette in the mud on the south shoulder of NM 47, the opposite side of the highway from where Tara had last been spotted, along with 2 sets of bike tracks, indicating the bike was possibly dragged. Also recovered on September 21st, during the multiple searches conducted, were a small, cracked plastic window belonging to a Sony Walkman, an old Milwaukee beer can, and a piece of plastic that looked like a bike reflector. All were located near the JFK campground, and Patty believed that Tara was discarding some of these items as breadcrumbs to mark her trail. Ground searches continued for a week and a half, but air searches were called off due to heavy storms in the area. Search personnel included multiple branches of law enforcement, both county, local PD, and state PD, as well as military personnel and hundreds of volunteers, all of whom found nothing indicating the whereabouts of Tara. Additionally, the bike Tara was riding has never been found. As there were many people around the day Tara vanished, multiple witnesses were interviewed by police, including De La Rosa. He came to the police's attention when he discovered that the woman he noticed biking ahead of the primer gray Ford pickup was reported missing and called the Valencia County Sheriff's Office and asked to speak to Captain Ray Flores. However, Flores seemed reluctant to take his statement. Eventually he did, and under hypnosis, De La Rosa picked a man out of the photo lineup as the driver of the truck. Flores arranged a meeting for the next day but never showed up, and didn't respond to De La Rosa's attempts to follow up. In fact, De La Rosa heard nothing from Flores until July of 1989, when Flores asked for his help in creating a composite sketch. The sketch, released in August of 1989, reveals a Caucasian male between 35-40 years of age, 5'19", 6 in height, 190 to 110 lbs, with reddish-brown hair and blue or hazel eyes, with 2 deep wrinkles between the eyes and temple. At the time the composite is finally released, the truck is described as having a camper shell, and bearing a New Mexico license plate starting with WBY or WBZ and 6 as the last digit. While giving the description that led to the composite, De La Rosa also mentioned that his friend Jack Aguayo's grandson, J.J. Aguayo, who also goes by J.J. Hampton, was hunting in the area that day with friends and saw Tara ride by. Jack confided to De La Rosa that he thought J.J. and his friend Paul Zeiler, among others, may have been involved in Tara's disappearance and potentially had access to a truck similar to the one reported as following Tara. Jack further stated that his grandson and friends were involved with drugs. Police interview both Zeiler and Aguayo Hampton and note some inconsistencies in their accounts. Specifically, Zeiler does not recall Aguayo Hampton shooting at a Quality Homes sign along Route 47 that day, and does not recall seeing Tara that day. Aguayo Hampton confirms he shot at the sign, and that they saw Tara riding her bike that day on Route 47. At a later date, a woman involved with JJ said that he told her he felt bad about Tara, but he couldn't do anything because the sheriff's son, Lawrence Romero, Jr., was involved. Lawrence Romero, Sr. had successfully run for sheriff in 1974, and he and Ray Flores led Tara's missing persons investigation. His son, Romero, Jr., the same age as Tara, was a known drug user and sometime dealer. Rumor had it that he had asked Tara out, but she turned him down due to having a boyfriend. In 1991, Romero Jr. died as either a result of an intentional suicide or from a game of Russian roulette gone terribly wrong. However, Romero Sr. claimed it was a homicide. About 10 months after Tara vanished on June 15, 1989, a woman in Port St. Joe, Florida was in the parking lot of Junior's convenience store when she noticed a white Toyota cargo van with no windows driven by a white male with a mustache. When she emerged from the store, the van was gone, but face down in the parking spot was a Polaroid picture. She retrieved the photo and became alarmed. The Polaroid depicted a young woman in her late teens or early 20s and a young boy inside a van, both in apparent distress. Their hands were behind their backs as if they were bound, and they had duct tape across their mouths. The woman was wearing shorts and had long, bare legs, and next to her was a copy of the book My Sweet Adrena by V.C. Andrews, an immensely popular author at that time. On the spine of the book was written what looked like a phone number. The woman turned the disturbing photo into the police, and it was featured in a story on the television show A Current Affair. A friend of Tara's stepdad, John Dole, who happened to be watching, thought it looked like Tara and alerted the Doles. At the same time, another family recognized the young boy in the photo as Michael Henley, who went missing a few months before Tara on April 21, 1988, in the Zuni Mountains of New Mexico while camping with his family. Both families flew to Florida to try and identify the children in the photograph, and both sets of parents were positive it was their child. Tara's mother pointed out the scar on the girl's leg, which exactly matched one Tara had as a result of a car accident, and noted that My Sweet Adrena was one of Tara's favorite books by her most beloved author. The phone number on the spine was only partially legible, but police tried every combination of numbers they possibly could, with no result. Witnesses reported that the girl in the photo was seen walking along a beach in Port St. Joe shortly before the Polaroid was found. This girl seemed to be following verbal orders given by 3 adult white males as they walked along. Eventually, 3 investigative agencies would analyze the photo and reach 3 different conclusions. Scotland Yard confirmed that the girl in the Polaroid was indeed Tara. The Los Alamos National Laboratory debunked that theory and stated it was not Tara. And the FBI said that the results of their investigation were inconclusive. Theories that supported the idea that the Polaroid was a hoax included the fact that the girl's legs were shaved, which would indicate she was not a kidnap victim, and that the skin around the duct tape on the victims' mouths should have been redder and more irritated than it appeared, indicating the photo was staged. It was also noted that the shoulders of both of the individuals in the photo looked too relaxed to have been bound. Eventually, 2 other photographs allegedly connected to Tara's case would surface. The first was found near a construction site in Montecito, CA. and depicted a woman with tape over her mouth, with a blue and white striped fabric background, similar to the first Polaroid. The second photo showed a woman and man on an Amtrak train. The woman loosely bound in gauze and wearing large black-framed eyeglasses with her eyes covered in gauze. It has never been officially confirmed that it was Tara in either of these photographs, but all three, especially the first Polaroid, remain linked to Tara's case forever. Patty Dole was reported as saying the photo had given her hope that Tara was still alive, and she spent the remainder of her days searching for her beloved daughter. In 1991, she and her husband John Dole were even formally deputized in order to be permitted to carry a weapon, conduct searches, and afford more access to case files and information to assist in their investigation into Tara's disappearance. Sadly, Michael Henley's story ended in tragedy when it was determined the boy in the Polaroid could not have been him. The child's remains were found in June of 1990, just a few miles from the campsite where he was last seen in the Zuni Mountains. He was identified by dental records and foul play was ruled out, as the cause of death was believed to be hypothermia. It is suspected that he simply wandered off, became disoriented, and died of exposure. There have been multiple developments in the case in the 30-plus years since Tara vanished. After the discovery of the Polaroid and subsequent photos, the case seemed to go cold. It wasn't for lack of media exposure. Patty and John Dole told their story on Oprah, America's Most Wanted, Unsolved Mysteries, and other news outlets, mailed out thousands of flyers, contacted hundreds of law enforcement agencies, and even entertained tips by psychics, hoping to garner information about their daughter's whereabouts. While some leads emerged, nothing led to an arrest. 15 years and thousands of investigative tips after Tara vanished, the Doles reluctantly moved to their retirement dream home in Port Charlotte, FL, in November of 2003. On May 11, 2006, Patty Dole's mission to find her daughter ended when she passed away at the age of 64, never learning the truth about what happened to Tara. Tara's biological father, David Calico, had preceded Patty in death in 2002.